Hello, beautiful people. It's Cinderella. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're back again with another video, and this is from Ice Coffee Hour. We're gonna be checking this together, and also in regards to Brett Cooper, how she emancipated herself from her parents.
I was emancipated at 15.
Why?
Myriad of reasons. I was about to shoot the second season of a show. It had been picked up. We didn't have a lot of details yet, but it was supposed to shoot in Prague. And at the time, my parents were going through their very, very messy divorce. My oldest brother, this was mostly, in my opinion, due to the death of his twin, who's my brother, so I have brothers who are identical twins. And Reed, who is the surviving twin, watched David die. And he has, I don't think ever really recovered for that. I don't know if you can recover from watching.
Can we ask what happened? Is that...
Yeah, he had a cardiac arrest. So they were on the rowing machine, and he just had a cardiac arrest.
The rowing machine?
Was that like an underlying heart condition?
We had no, we didn't
just at the gym?
Yep. At school.
What?
Yeah.
At school?
Yeah. And the school didn't have defibrillators, and so they did CPR, but could not revive him. What we think is that he had something called long QT syndrome, but we're not sure. The autopsy really didn't bring back much. We didn't want to just spend a lot of time doing tests. But I mean, my whole family, it's crazy. We still really don't know, because Reed, who is his identical twin, has no signs of it, has never had any signs of it. And they are genetically identical. And so truly the only one that has had a sign of it is me. Like sometimes on my EKGs, because I do them yearly, something has popped up that's kind of weird, but nothing that's been alarming. But Reed has had no signs of it.
Oh my gosh.
But it's been 16 years since David's death now. And Reed spiraled years after that. So at the time, I mean, he left college and went to India for 4 years, did hard drugs, and came back totally different. It was his way of coping. My parents tried to keep him from going, held money over his head. My grandparents gave him money, and he ended up, going. And it was just a whole, obviously a lot of turbulence, I would say. And he really, really struggled when he came back, and then he had a psychotic break. So my brother is now, at this point when I'm 15, he is diagnosed schizophrenic.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that with a twin, because I hear a lot of the times that there is that connection between them. And I believe that. I think it's like a part of yourself is dying at the same time.
And so, when you're growing up, and there is, I don't know the psychological term for it, but therapists talk about it a lot, where you are, moving into adulthood. It usually happens around college age for us people in the modern age now, but where you break away from your parents. You start to see them as individuals rather than as parents. You differentiate yourself from your family. As you're creating your own family, you're creating new relationships, you're not living at home. Twins have to go through that on another level with each other, because they spend their entire lives, like Reed and David did everything together, were in the same exact class, lived in the same room, they went to boarding school, lived in the same room together, had the same group of friends, looked exactly the same. Throughout their entire life, David would wear red, Reed would wear blue. So my mom dressed them as a baby, they kept it up in high school, but it's like they were connected, looked literally identical. Friends couldn't tell them apart. They had not, at 17 years old, had not gone through that break. And so it was like literally this person instantaneously was ripped away from my brother. And he was at an all boys school. And so at 17 years old, had no outlet. He has often said to me, he was like, Brett, I cried once and I was fine. I promise. Like, it didn't impact me. And it's like, you're bullshitting us. Like, I know you did, and you don't need to do this for your friends. And so I think because he never actually processed it, it just, festered and festered and festered. And then he did a lot of drugs that literally changed his brain chemistry. Like, he would do things in India where he would wake up 2 weeks later in a totally different part of the country.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that must have been, or the brother must have felt, because obviously he was dealing with a lot. First of all, losing his twin, or his brother, which was very close. Obviously, lots of things were going on, and he was very young, so obviously he was grieving or dealing with grief the best way he knows how to, or he could, which most of the time is a terrible situation. But let me know, are you a twin? Or if you're a twin, you can also share the bond or the closeness you have with your twin. Obviously, it's different for different people, and the people have different experiences, especially people who are twin. I am a twin as well, but I mean, I'm not identical. And know people, or I know twins who are identical. Most of the time, they don't even leave each other's side and all that. And lots of the time, many twins have different dynamic or different relationship dynamic. Sometimes they might be close, sometimes they might not be. But also share your thoughts and your experience. But let's go on.
I mean, he's done probably everything on the books.
Wow.
Yeah. Came back, was continuing to abuse drugs, got him in front of doctors, and then refused to take medication for and I have my own thoughts about, antipsychotics and antidepressants and that sort of thing. And I really believe that there are a lot of lifestyle and diet changes that people can make to help mitigate that. And he did not want to do any of that. He said, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. And it's like, you're literally having psychotic breaks in front of us. And so he was at the time on the street. And he refused medication, and schizophrenics can often be violent. So my mom said, you cannot live with us. You cannot live with your younger sister.
Oh,
Unless you were on these meds, you need to figure something else out. So he was like, well, I can get drugs on the street. So for 2 years, he was homeless. And so I had this TV show that I was possibly going to Prague for. My parents were getting divorced. I got pulled into the divorce. At 15 years old, I should have been able to say, like, I don't want to have to split custody, whatever. And at the time, I was like, I have a career. I'm living in Los Angeles. My brother is a mess. I cannot be dealing with like my parents' stuff in Chattanooga right now. I should not be involved in it. I kind of felt like I started being used as a pawn in it. So I got a lawyer. It was not contentious.
You got a lawyer at 15? Mm-hmm. How did you do that?
Was it publicly, like they gave it to you?
Mm-hmm. No, I went and I found one in Chattanooga. So I did it in Tennessee.
I bet you just walked in with your resume and
yeah, it was like,
hey, here I
was
am.
still in LA at the time, but because I was a resident of Tennessee, my learner's permit was in Tennessee.
How do you pay for that? I imagine a lot of lawyers at that point would just do it pro bono.
Maybe in Los Angeles, it's very, very difficult to do because a lot of families will try to do that because it's easier to be an actor if you are not a minor because they don't have to pay the additional fee to have a tutor. You can work longer hours, that kind of thing. So a lot of parents and families and stage moms, that kind of thing, will try to screw with the system and like get their kid emancipated to do it. I didn't want to deal with that, and I was still resident in Tennessee. So we had a couple of family friends. My mom actually helped me because I went to her and I said, I cannot be a part of this. Like, your attention is split between, Reed and, being at home in Chattanooga, and she was going to move Reed back to Chattanooga, and she was like, you're going to have to come. And I was like, I don't want to. I'm a professional. I literally have a career. Please just like, let me try to do this. And so she was like, okay. So once again, me like dragging my mom along for this journey. But I don't even remember, he was the father of a family friend of ours, and he was a family lawyer, and so it was a relatively, not a difficult process. But yeah, I brought my resume, showed the money that I was making, and he said, it's not consistent enough because acting's, ebbs and flows. So that was at the time when I got a job at Trader Joe's. So I was 15, got a job at Trader Joe's, worked there until 2021. I kept that job throughout all of my acting.
Seriously?
Yeah, all throughout college.
How much were you making at 15?
$17 an hour.
That's really good.
That's fantastic.
Trader Joe's pays awesome money. Yeah. And you get full health care and all that. So I got my health care through them.
How do they hire you at 15 though?
Because in California, you can start working at 15.
Obviously, people deal with grief differently, and sometimes when parents are going through divorce and everything, and somebody's already grieving the loss of their siblings and all, then it becomes um s- other people gets affected and all. But obviously, depending based on what she just shared there, it's better or it's better or it's wise that she took the bold step, because obviously I always say, especially on this channel, that no kid should be raised in an unhealthy situation. Sometimes the parents, and obviously sometimes if parents are in an unhealthy situation, need be, then they can go their both separate ways if that is wise, especially depending on the divorce or the relationship dynamics they exhibit or they have. But obviously, it seems like she sort of sought out for the best way to get out of a toxic family, toxic relationship, regardless, because they were already dealing with grief, and added with the parents divorcing and all that. Most especially, it usually affects the kids when parents are divorced and all that, because lots of people get used to broken family normalcy and all that, so they're not used to seeing family come together. And lots of people can also share their times or stories where they saw their parents being happy, lovey-dovey and all that, until when they started growing apart. But again, most of the time people grow apart due to grief, whatever relationship, and falling out and all that. But I really love your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Bert Cooper emancipating at age 15? I know lots of people also have different stories and all that. Some people emancipated from their parents as well. But I really love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next